are hearing from the courts in Manchester. The former nurse, Lucy Letby, has been found guilty.
Found guilty.
She's guilty. The jury's found Lucy Letby guilty of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder another 6.
Shocking and harrowing.
I speak for the whole trust when I say how deeply saddened and appalled we are at Lucy Letby's crimes.
The order of the court, therefore, is a whole life order. You will spend the rest of your life in prison.
Mr. Malkinson, having waited so many years, you leave the court a free man, no longer subject to the conditions of your life licence.
Andrew Malkinson served over 17 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Many highly qualified experts have suggested that Lucy Letby could well be the latest British miscarriage of justice. There have been times when juries simply got it wrong, like the Birmingham 6. But these miscarriages are often not the fault of the jury. Based on what we now know 1 year on, it seems there was an awful lot that Lucy Letby's jurors didn't know. The jury were told that sewage backed up into the Countess of Chester neonatal unit sinks. They were not told that a bug, Pseudomonas, was found in 2 of them. It can lead to infection, sepsis, and death. The jury also didn't know that, at around that time, the Countess of Chester Hospital was rated 5th worst in the NHS for recognising and treating sepsis. Only 1 in 3 got treatment fast enough. Of the 17 supposedly stable babies involved in Lucy Letby's trial, it was eventually found that 9 had suspected or confirmed sepsis. They also didn't know that in 2014, one of the doctors who went on to accuse Lucy Letby missed 5 warning signs that they had mistakenly put a breathing tube into a baby's gullet. The doctor had assumed equipment was faulty. The baby died. The Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health issued a damning report after the spike of unexpected deaths at the unit, citing multiple failures. Neonatologist Jane Horden independently suggested major or significant suboptimal care in 13 out of 17 cases. Dr. Joe McPartland and another pathologist at the nearby Alderhay Hospital looked at the remaining cases and found nothing suspicious. The jury didn't hear anything about these reports. In 2024, Jane Horden said that a murderer on the unit could be an alternate explanation to her findings. Crucially, however, she offered no medical evidence for saying her initial conclusion of widespread suboptimal care was wrong. It's thought the jury also didn't know that the hospital had instructed a solicitor concerned about being sued for negligence. The solicitor advised them that for one child in particular, the failure to give antibiotics in time was indefensible. Immediately after Lucy's arrest, an inquest into that baby's death was cancelled. The focus switched from negligence to murder. The chief witness for the prosecution was a retired paediatrician, Dowie Evans, who hadn't practiced medicine for 10 years. He suggested Lucy used multiple methods of murder, including the injection of air into the stomach. Other doctors have expressed scepticism that this is even physiologically possible as a method of murder. In 2024, Dowie admitted to the New Yorker magazine that there are no published papers on this phenomenon that I know of. Yet he told the jury something different, that this was a clinically proven mechanism. That mechanism helped the jury convict Lucy of 3 counts of murder. The jury were also told that mottling, a skin rash, was said to be evidence of another method of murder, air injected into the bloodstream. An author of the paper relied upon by the prosecution in the trial later said that the rash described could not be the same as that discussed in his paper. jurors were told that bizarre test results from 2 babies meant it was overwhelmingly likely insulin had been administered with deliberate harm in mind. They were not told of a 3rd baby on the unit with similar strange results, where it later emerged they had hyperinsulinism, natural causes. The jury were told that just a tiny amount of insulin into the bloodstream was needed to harm, which Lucy could have administered undetected. The BBC's File on 4 spoke to Jeff Chase, who has spent 16 years studying how insulin works in babies, and British chemical engineer Helen Shannon. In the case of 1 baby on the unit, their model showed 20 to 80 times the amount of insulin alleged by the prosecution would be needed, almost the entire ward's supply. No insulin was reported missing. Doctors became suspicious of Lucy seemingly always being present at babies' collapses, and she was removed from the unit. Jurors were told that she instigated a grievance procedure, alleging 2 consultants were victimising her. Jurors were not told that the hospital found in her favour, saying there was no hard evidence against her, and the behaviour and comments from the consultants fell far short of what is expected by the trust and professional standards. The 2 senior doctors were shamed into making public apologies. The stage was set for what was to come. The hospital's head of occupational health had encouraged Lucy to write down her feelings as a way of coping with extreme stress. According to Richard Curran, the chair of the Forensic Psychotherapy Society, this would have included how she was being made to feel. The jury were not made aware that damning scribbled notes recovered by the police from Lucy's house were part of a hospital-instigated therapy program. Ravi Jayaram was one of the doctors reprimanded for his treatment of Lucy, and later the only person who claimed to have seen Lucy doing anything untoward. He told the jury that a breathing tube had been dislodged, and he didn't think that could happen by accident with such a tiny baby. Worse, Lucy was standing over the baby, not intervening.
That is a night that is etched on my memory and will be in my nightmares forever.
An appeal judge later said,
although he believed that Letby had deliberately dislodged the endotracheal tube, he had said nothing at the time, nor for many months after. There was an inconsistency between his evidence and the contemporaneous records.
Further, medical experts expressed surprise at Ravi Jayaram's claim that tube dislodgement could not be accidental in a tiny baby.
It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, we've all seen it. Accidental extubation is common. The issue with very small babies is that the movement only has to be relatively small, say 1 centimetre. If you're out by 1 centimetre, then suddenly the baby is extubated.
It is not clear why Ravi Jayaram ever told the jury otherwise, or why the defence called no one to challenge him. The prosecution put Lucy at the scene of her crimes by using various data sources. After the main trial, it emerged that, due to an error, door swipe logs used by the prosecution had been inverted, literally the opposite of what happened. Another well-used door seen here in the original unit used a keypad with no data record whatsoever. Put simply, staff, including Lucy, would not have been where the jury were told they were. The duty log presented to Cheshire Police showed Lucy was the only nurse always there at unexplained collapses. The police engaged a member of the Royal Statistical Society for her expert opinion, but they never provided her the full information she requested in order to do her job. Later, apparently unknown to the defence or jury, a police officer told the statistician that the Crown Prosecution Service actually instructed them to shut down the whole line of inquiry. Steve Watts is now retired, but was lead for the investigation of deaths in healthcare settings for the police in England and Wales.
There has never been an occasion when I have been instructed by the Crown Prosecution Service to do or not do anything. If I was given a direct instruction by the Crown Prosecution Service, I would have flatly refused, and I would have reported them to the Director of Public Prosecution, to the Chief Crown Prosecutor.
Jane Hutton, The statistician Cheshire Police had originally approached for her expert testimony has subsequently said that the duty roster used in the trial is misleading and the verdict unsafe. The jury may also have missed other critical facts in the blizzard of information and misinformation swirling around the 10-month trial. Consultants only came round twice weekly, not twice daily, as should have been the case. Impending signs of baby's collapse could well have been missed. The unit's blood gas machine was faulty, often giving inaccurate results for critical tests. The excess deaths stopped after the unit was downsized and downgraded. The most vulnerable babies with which they were struggling to cope were removed at exactly the same time as Lucy. The Thirlwall inquiry, ongoing at the time of making this film, has been set up to learn lessons from the case.
We will be examining why detailed, rigorous medical analysis of sudden, unexpected deaths and collapses did not take place earlier.
However, that examination will not include any of the facts that the jury did not know that have been raised in this film.
I make it absolutely clear that it's not for me, as chair of this public inquiry, to set about reviewing the convictions. The Court of Appeal has done that with a very clear result.
None of the many witnesses or experts have therefore been called who challenge this narrative. And in case you were wondering, aside from Lucy herself, there was only one witness called by the defence in the original trials: a plumber. If Lucy is truly innocent, it is inevitable that this cannot be entirely shielded from the inquiry's eyes. Multiple clues have emerged. However, only wrong lessons could be ultimately learned from a failure to spot crimes if they never occurred in the first place. Combined, the trial, single retrial and inquiry into Lucy Letby will take 15 months and cost over £20 million. Time and again, they missed or avoided the basics. Could it be this simple, that the nurse working the most overtime on a chronically overstretched unit, and who was among the most qualified, was naturally there quite often when the most vulnerable babies were lost? There are many more things the jury didn't know, but one stands out. Nobody told them who Lucy Letby was.
She adopted cats, rescue cats. She is the kindest person that I've ever known. Think of your most kind, gentle, soft friend to say that she could have harmed any baby. It's just not in her nature.
Police have never been able to hint at a motive.
If this conviction is unsafe, I think it would be probably the biggest miscarriage of justice in the United Kingdom.
Lucy Letby now has a new lawyer, Mark MacDonald.
I'm currently working on and drafting the application for the CCRC, which is the Criminal Cases Review Commission. It's the only body that allows you to a conviction to be referred back to the Court of Appeal.
The Independent newspaper reported in October 24 that the Criminal Cases Review Commission currently has a backlog of 1,000 cases. Another nurse accused of using insulin to commit mass murder is Colin Norris. He was convicted in 2008, refused appeal, just like Lucy, and there was an inquiry to learn lessons, just like Thirlwall. He applied to the CCRC in 2011. They found in his favour and referred his case back to the Court of Appeal 10 years later. He is still awaiting the appeal court's decision. At the time of making this film, he has been in prison for 16 years.